big pieces is the 504 piece as a 504 coordinator. The position also closely works with attendance recovery, course protection, and the campus testing coordinator. For today's section, I'm really going to hit hard on 504 and what section 504 is. Section 504, common misconception, is not just a program. Okay, it's not just, oh, I can be in 504, it's that program that helps kids. Okay, Section 504 is a civil law that's there to prevent educational discrimination. Okay, in education, Section 504 provides access to facilities and curriculum. Okay, so it's not just academic based; it is also facilities as well. So child find, I know that was talked a little bit about in the last portion of our meeting. Child find is when we identify, locate students, and evaluate students with disabilities residing in the state, regardless of the severity of their disability. Okay. Who is responsible for child find? So what is this thing called child find? So guardians, teachers, coaches, the nurse, any academic specialist, counselor, campus administrator, student attendance liaison, MTSS team, or also our C3 success teams. We are responsible for really looking and taking data from our students to really take a look at what students are needing help with. So for instance, last year, if you notice students are, this person's constantly absent, I'm not sure what is happening here. You go in, you look into any documentation with CMS. At our Stingray success meetings, we have those conversations to really try to see where the root cause lies. For example, last year there was a student who was absent constantly, first through fourth period, never here, never here, never here, never here. Finally got a hold of parents, worked really closely with the counselors. Turned out the student had an eating disorder. Campus was not aware of his eating disorder, okay? And so I worked closely with the counselors, parents, to get doctors' documentation on that, to really help the student have access to an equitable education. What that may look like varies from student to student, but that could be giving them a safe space to eat. That could also be that particular student was on medication, helped give them access to the nurse during any of those times that they may have an issue arise medically. So it really could look differently for every student. So eligibility in section 504 is with a physical or mental impairment. This substantially limits one or more major life activities. And the limitations compared to the average general education student is greater than. So it is not just, well, they can't focus or concentrate. Okay, well, let's take a look at the reason why it goes deeper than that. The diagnosis alone sometimes does not necessarily automatically have the student qualify. One of the common misconceptions of 504, a lot of parents will say, well, I need a 504 evaluation. I need a 504 evaluation. Okay, the evaluation is not they're going to the LLSP to get some type of formal, yes, so it's not an individual evaluation yet. The committee is our evaluation. So when you come with the doctor's note, you come with the committee, we go over everything. That is our evaluation to see if the student qualifies. All of our Section 504 plans are tailored to each student. Not all 504 plans are the same. You'll hear a common misconception. When my child has ADD, I want that extra time, and I want them to have extra time on tests, and I want them to have, all these different things. Every single student is different. Yes, you can see a lot of common factors, but every student is different. So every campus also is different. I send out, at the end of the week, I'll send out each teacher an individual bundle that has a list of all of your students on it and their accommodations. I did do something a little different this year. Hopefully got just the name of the student and a list of their accommodations in a sentence almost. This year, I'm taking each individual student and I have a checkpoint on each accommodation, okay? So it may be a little bit easier to view. At the end, if it's a specialized, like if they're on here, I don't have maybe hearing or an auditory. We have 2 students with an auditory impairment, and so their descriptions are a little bit simpler, and they're on just off to the side under other. But I am trying to something a little bit different. So, sorry. Merging. So yes. Yes. So I'm going to have these sent out closer to the end of the week, just because I know the schedule changes are still happening right now. So I want to try to get as close to an accurate description of your students. There it goes. Here we go. All right, so if you need an access or need to access a student's 504 plan, whether it's a student missing on the list, please definitely get with me. I'd be happy to take a look and make adjustments. If you want to see teachers' feedbacks from previous years, or you would like to know anything with an annual meeting or any specific information, you received a yellowish orange piece of paper, and it has directions on how to access those plans in Frontline. Okay? When you go into Frontline, you can find a teacher bundle of reports that look like this. It has the description of the physical or mental impairment, any instructional accommodations, and any accommodation that applies to all standardized tests. So you'll go through Frontline, there's a little app on your portal. For those that are new, it's on your portal. You're going to go to the little app. When you click on that, you're going to click on Frontline Special Education and Interventions V3. From there, you'll go to the archive. You'll enter the student's ID, and you'll look for their name. You'll have to be asked which applies. I always just click the first, I'm reviewing the student's IEP, okay? And then you'll look to see the closest tab to this year. Now, if you're an incoming 6th grade student, or somebody who is new to Vail, it may not be as clean as students that were here starting from last year. I have taken those files and I've cleaned them up quite a bit. When you were looking, if you're a 6th grade student, even though they're technically a 504 student, if previous campuses, whether it's in Texas, Northside, anywhere else, they may not have anything labeled like this. And you look in there and you're like, well, I know they're 504, but I don't see anything. Please reach out. I'll be happy to help give any information that you may need. You can also find out if your student is 504 based off TAC. So when you log into TAC, it'll have a bunch of little alerts. When you click on that alert, it'll tell you that they are a 504 student. If that student's not on your list, transfers and class changes happen all the time. I may not get every single student. Hey, they're moving from Miss Foster's class to Mr. Maxwell. Let's just pretend we're going to a completely new teacher. I may not know every single individual move. I will know when students are moving from campus to campus, but for within our campus, I may not know. If that happens and you don't know, please check just to ensure that they are, if they are a 504 student or not. So your input and feedback. So like last year, I sent out an email. In that email, it gave the student's name and the date of which I need feedback from. Typically, I like to send it out with 2 weeks notice. But there are times if it is something that's needing to be adjusted, or they come in with a physical impairment. Last year we had a student with spina bifida. That's something that I need to handle pretty much immediately for writing here. So if that turnaround is a little faster, it's just because I need to ensure that their services start immediately almost. They will still lead to a Google form, okay? So you'll click on the link, and there are all types of just simple questions that go in. I think feedback everybody. What is important is I get feedback from content teachers, elected teachers, I get feedback from the nurse, from athletics, from everybody on the campus. It is imperative, okay? I get a lot of questions outside of the content areas, okay? Well, that may not apply here. Absolutely it applies, okay? I know Ms. Salazar does a fantastic job with providing excellent feedback, even though she feels, oh, I'm just an elective. No, she builds relationships with students, all the time, and knowing what works for her is fantastic and actually helps in other contents as well. Athletics is an important one too, especially for our medically impaired students or students with asthma. I need to know, are they using inhalers before or after any type of physical activity? Are they going after your class but it's not documented? And that trickles down to if a student leaving athletics goes to the nurse but doesn't tell anybody, and then they're late to your class every single day. I need to know that so I can try to help figure out where can we make adjustments. That may be here at the campus level, or that may be telling a parent, I think we should have another doctor's appointment, maybe they should be able to self-carry their kid. Right? So it can be little things that to y'all seem little, but they actually are really significant on a whole other domino effect. Accommodations are also important because I try to clean them up as best as I can, especially coming from 6th grade. You don't need a number line all the way down to 8th grade. You don't, okay? But they have, right now 6th graders have a number line or have things on there that are no longer applicable when you get to middle school. My accommodations are with instructional, classroom based off of instructional practices, classroom assessment, environmental needs, behavioral, state assessments. They change year to year, they can change year to year, and for every kid is different, right? Behavioral is important with 504 too, okay? Before, just like tier meetings, before I can have conversations about things that we have implemented before we go to special ed or for a FIIE, I have to be able to say, we've tried these behavioral accommodations at the 504 level, okay? So that is just as important. Remember that IEPs are legally binding, okay? However, with that being said, all you can do is give the students access to that, okay? We have a lot of students who don't like feeling like they're the only one, or they're out of place. So, for a student, let's just say, you will see still some dyslexia students under 504, okay? If they have oral admin on everything, right? If they refuse to use the earbuds, there's nothing you can do about that. The only thing you can do is place the earbud or make sure that they have them on their desk for every single assessment. That you cannot force them, okay? However, they need to be given every single assessment. If your assessment is papered, you should have conversations with that student prior, letting them know, hey, this is not an online test, so if you need oral admin for this, please let me know, okay? And really that's up to how that works in your classroom, whether that is you have them in a small group, whether you have a sticky note, hey, I'm putting my sticky, I'm letting you know I need you to read me a question, whatever, or raise a hand, really depending on the relationship between you and your students. More is not better, okay? So I'm just gonna simply say for this, more is not better. Especially if it's not working, okay? That's another reason why feedback is so important, because everybody's getting their accommodations this week, right? By some of them, they may not have their meeting until December, okay? Let's just say they may not get to December. If it's not working, then is the time to tell me so I can make adjustments, okay? So if, again, back to the math, that one's a simple one, that one we don't use, okay? So I'm taking that off. If the behavioral intervention on their plan is not working, that can be adjusted too, okay? So please know that just because the child has 10 accommodations in one specific area, that they may not work or be applicable. Again, it's everybody's responsibility to provide any of the accommodations written on the IEP. Students, again, are not required to ask. So I can almost bet money, those dyslexia students, they're not gonna ask for a headset. They're not. And a parent will come back and say, my child made this on their assessment, what was provided? And I'll say, you know what, I'll look into it, I'll talk to the teacher, And if the teacher says, well, they didn't ask for it, okay, well, that's, unfortunately, at the end of the day, that's our responsibility. The kid is 12. They're not going to ask. They're not going to remember to ask, okay? Do you have any questions? No? All right, well, I will link this slide, or I think the slide is already linked into the Google Drive. If you have any questions, you can refer back to that, or you can email me. With the new fancy phones, you just put the 9 in front of the 7.